Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Welcome to the Tough Crowd Podcast, the very first episode. As always, I am your host, Buckeye, and with me, my good friend, Mr. Wicked Omens. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, feeling a little lively, really excited for the things we have in store today.
Man, I'm super excited. So listen, guys, we want to talk about, first off, what on earth is this? Like, what exactly is this Tough Crowd Podcast? You guys have been hearing about it for the last week. What is it? Why are you talking so much about this? Can you please explain to me what on earth this Tough Crowd Podcast actually is? Well, let's go ahead and do that. So, Mr. Omens, why don't you break down what exactly we got going on here?
Well, Tough Crowd kind of came up as a concept when I was playing on Xbox. When people would crack a joke and then we would laugh, we would say it was a tough crowd. So in that same light, I want to come to you guys and talk about games that are coming out, games that we've been playing, and just kind of present that to you and create an amazing show for people to come to every week.
Yeah, I mean, and part of that too is like, so for instance, me and Omens, we work together, IRL, right? And one of the things that is just a staple of us is we like to get discussions all the time at work, and we tend to have an opposite viewpoint on things, which really lends itself to a good conversation. So, you know, we've had a ton of those conversations at work and stuff like that, and we're just like, man, why don't we just do it? Like, just do something about this and have a podcast and put some use to this confrontation. So, you know, we've been talking about this for how long have we been talking about this? Like,
for at least 3 months, at least.
I mean, it's been a fat minute. So,
most definitely.
That's basically the idea of what we got going on here, guys. Tough Crowd is just, you know, it's a podcast we want to start doing weekly, you know, trying to just have an extra outlet for you guys when talking about gaming. There's a ton of podcasts out there. Like, we're not going to shy away from that. There's just a couple podcasts out there, but there's always room for one more. And I, at least myself, have had a lot of experience with podcasts in the podcasts in the past. So, you know, I think this is something that is going to be pretty fun. I know Omens does not have too much experience, but we're gonna get him in. How do you feel about this being your first podcast, dude?
Yeah, I'm not one too shy of popping the good old cherry, so I'm really excited to see what this has in store.
Get it going, you know what I'm saying? Get it going. All right, so along with this being our first podcast and this being the Tough Crowd Podcast, what exactly is specific about us? So I want you, Mr. Omens, to introduce yourself to the audience, explain who the heck you are, what do you do on the internet, and why are you important and on this podcast?
Well, first off, I want to give a little bit of a gaming history. I started intensely gaming, kind of like how I do now, probably back in the MW2 days. I remember a long time ago, me and my uncle bought it, and then they were watching a 24-hour the TV show. They were running like a very long binge watch session, and the entire time that they were watching it, I was in the other room playing MW2. So it was it was just kind of, yeah, it was a lot of fun. 14 hours that game session. It was very long.
Jeez.
Yeah. So then it wasn't until shortly after that I started to pick up Halo Reach that I decided to pick up content for it. I did it for a while, didn't do a DVR setup, so that it kind of discouraged me from doing it anymore. But then with having a PC, it allows me to have access to certain tools to continue doing it again. So then that's what I do now. I stream and plan to do more content creating in terms of YouTube, but it's just a matter of getting around to it.
So where exactly, if the people here are interested in your content specifically, where can they find you?
I am at twitch.tv/wickedomens, or you can find me at youtube.com/omenthedivine. And also, you can find me on Twitter at wickedomens.
Yeah, you guys need to go over there and follow him so he can actually start tweeting more than once every 4 months. That would be that would be a benefit for all of us involved, for sure. So me, if you guys are here on the channel, you probably know who I am. But if you guys are listening out there on the webs, I appreciate you being here. My name is Buckeye. I have been on the internet for quite a while. Let me talk a little bit about my gaming history as well. So I started gaming back in 2002. Okay, now let me give you my age here. I'm about to turn 20 on Sunday, so I was 3 years of age back in 2002 when I started playing video games. Back with the original Halo Combat Evolved on the original Xbox. My dad had an Xbox, and he got Halo, and he would have a bunch of friends over. And if you guys have any understanding of like the history of Halo, back when the original game came out, one of the big, super fun things to do was have a LAN party, because with the original Xbox, you could system link everything up together, and you could have up to 16 players, like 4 TVs, 4 Xboxes, quad, quad split screen. So they did that all the time, and me being a 3-year-old, seeing a bunch of people having fun, I was super interested in it. So I was like, Dad, let me play this, and it took a bit of convincing, a 3-year-old convincing a man, but it eventually worked, and I got myself into playing. So that was my first experience with gaming, and ever since then, Halo has been my true love, even though I've been severely disappointed over the last decade, but that's here nor there. But that's where I started everything. Now, as far as my content creation goes, I began my career back in 2012. I found a couple tech channels, one of them by the name of Techno Buffalo. And I was like, super, I was like, what? These companies give people products to unbox and review? That's wild. So I started doing my own stuff with horrible quality. I was making my videos sometimes in PowerPoint. It was really great. Yeah, in PowerPoint you can like record. Oh man, it was great. Yeah, that's the OG days of me. But then as the years went on, I started making more content. If you guys are familiar at all with a small channel called Halo Follower and/or Destiny Follower, I was on the reins there about 3-4 years ago, something like that. So I'm no new person to content. I've been making content on the internet for quite a while now. But for nowadays, what exactly am I doing? Well, of course, you got the twitch.tv/BuckeyeBreeze, where I've been going live very consistently over the last couple weeks. Just hit Twitch affiliate on our way to partner status. Be streaming right now. After this podcast, actually, I'm going to be finishing the Halo 5 campaign if I don't decide to play something else, because, Halo 5 campaign feels good, man. In addition to that, youtube.com/BuckeyeBreeze, Instagram at Buckeye_GG, and Twitter at BuckeyeGG is where you can find all of my content. So, now that we've gone through the introduction, I think that's pretty much it for the intro. Am I right, Mr. Omens?
I believe so. Yeah. We're good.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the first topic, which just so happens to be the Bungie Activision split that just happened. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? It's actually been a little bit now since it, hasn't it?
It's fairly recent. I mean, it's not like it wasn't like it was yesterday, but yeah, I would say 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks, now. Something like that. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute since it happened, but we still wanted to provide our thoughts on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna send it over to Mr. Omens here. What are your like initial like reactions? Like, if you can remember, what were your initial thoughts like when the news broke and the internet exploded about the whole thing?
Honestly, it wasn't until like I told you, I was giving it a little thought the other day that I really started to realize how much of a difference this can have, especially because I was doing a little bit of more research on how long Bungie's been around, not Bungie specifically, but Destiny's been around,
yeah,
and what that would mean that they're no longer with Activision. It opens so many more avenues than I had originally thought. So at first, I was very, like, okay, but now I'm just like, oh, all right, now I see
what the hubbub is. Yeah. Okay. So then, like, expand on that if you could.
Okay, yeah. So, I think we're not going to see any serious change until after this season passes over. It just depends on how far their roadmap has come. If they have it written as far as to the end of Destiny 2, then we won't see any change till Destiny 3 maybe. But if they don't have a roadmap for their what I'm just going to call their Rise of Iron DLC, their last DLC for Destiny, that might when we see a glimpse of it, but we may not, because they might have their roadmap done with it already, and they might be just looking to make that change in Destiny 3.
Yeah, that's what they officially confirmed that basically everything that's on the roadmap right now is not changing whatsoever. Like, that's all staying the same. Everything is as planned, but like you're saying, when it comes to what is after that? That's the question. And I've been watching some stuff. For instance, Say No to Rage is a Destiny streamer. He does a Q&A every stream, and he was talking about this the other day. And one thing he was talking about was like, the Taken Queen, the Rise of Iron, whatever big expansion would typically come out. He's kind of wondering if maybe until the release of Destiny 3, if we're just going to be seeing more seasons like this. Like, maybe we don't see another big time expansion because they're taking all resources and, that they actually have available to them now. And now also too, like, they're not restricted to that yearly schedule, right? So they're not required to come out with a full-blown content release. They have the ability to do whatever they want to now. And I mean,
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I have not played Black Armory. I don't even have Forsaken on PC, so I'm an observer of Destiny 2 at the moment, simply just because I don't have the time nor the really I really want to stream Destiny 2, and one of the problems is I can't really do it. So if I could have streamed Destiny 2, I would have played this season of content. But with all that said, I've not played any of this stuff, but from an observer side of things, it looks like this is the best Destiny has been after its initial like big content drop. Correct me if I'm wrong.
As far as I can tell, yeah, because it's just like it seemed like the season pass was just going to be like the food to get through the week, just enough to keep people going. But the fact that that this is happening is just kind of just like we could start to see more out of Bungie. Maybe they take longer with their expansions, like you said, but then we get bigger things. Maybe just a full game like expansion.
Right.
We can hopefully see.
So another thing he was talking about was like the idea of. Okay, well, I'll mention this actually. So if you paid attention, I don't know if you were like on Twitter. I don't know if you were at work or if you're on Twitter when the news broke, but I think you're at work actually because I sent it over to you.
Yeah, I think I was at work. Yeah.
So the internet absolutely exploded when this happened, and one of the things
controlled my Twitter feed.
Yeah, mine too. Like it was trending all over. One of the things that I noticed was that I can't remember his name, but the like founder, like the main head honcho over at Epic Games, actually like immediately replied to the announcement by Bungie, and was saying something along the lines of like, "Can't wait to see, what's to come," or something along those lines. And one of the I wouldn't say rumors because it's not a rumor, but like one of the ideas that people are having concerning that is like, I mean, when you think about it, right? People in the game industry, they're busy. They're not just sitting there staring at their phone waiting for, something, some sort of bombshell to drop, right? Like they talk behind the scenes, So my thinking is that like, there's no way that he's just going to spontaneously respond to that big of an announcement if there's no, like, I mean, I can see him responding, right? But like, maybe a few hours down the line or something like that when he gets word of the situation or whatever the case may be. But he had to have known ahead of time about what's going to happen with that announcement for him to reply immediately. So like something that people are talking about is like, what does that mean? Like, is there some sort of hint we're getting there with that? Like because when you look at Destiny and its life cycle, one of the things that they have always complained about is that like, because they don't bring out, the reason why they don't bring out consistent quick updates to fix things that people have issues with is because their engine is slow, decrepit, and like it doesn't allow for that kind of stuff. It also doesn't allow for the console 60 FPS, right? So people are talking about like maybe Bungie makes a shift to the Unreal Engine. Maybe because like after, we don't know where Destiny 2 PC is going to rely on after this season of content, because like it is guaranteed to be on Battle.net for this next season, but after that, it's probably not going to stay there. So where does it go? Does it go over to Epic? Or, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is perhaps in the future, we're going to have some sort of direct relation between Epic and Bungie if they use the Unreal Engine. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, regardless of where Bungie goes, regardless if they stay on Battle.net and they get their own little tab instead of being under the Activision one, or if they get their own launcher on Epic Games, like, it's just hopefully that they take the approach that they are their own company and they don't have this publisher company putting their hand into their game, because then that it's going to limit them and it's going to be redundant what they do. for what they're doing,
Right. It's kind of like they're getting out of that situation, just go back into it or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So,
Okay.
one of the other things I wanted to elaborate on, though, is since they are no longer in that contract with Activision, I was thinking about this the other day. They are no longer in that 10-year contract.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at this the other day. Destiny, came out in 2014. So that means that this September is the 5-year anniversary for Destiny, which is kind of cool in a way.
Yeah, that's actually pretty neat.
So, what that would have meant is that we probably would have seen, if they stayed with Activision, we would have seen that Rise of Iron DLC from Destiny 2, and then we most likely would have seen a Destiny 3 release their DLCs for that, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
But with this split, what we can most likely see, and if they stay, hopefully they can stay independent, and they can do what they need to do without really messing anything up, without any complications, because if they can stay independent, that means that they can have this game for as long as they want. What we could possibly see is a WoW of shooters, a game that is forever ending.
I was actually going to bring that up. I'm glad you brought that up. Yep, continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's just like, instead of having this like 10 and done game, now we have this, what could be a game that will last 15 years, 20 years, maybe a game that my kids will be born and then play it as well. It's just, it's good to see timeless games like this, because it's just,
yeah, I definitely,
it's hype.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. That's what I was thinking about, is like, and another thing that I was like, Senator Rage was mentioning in his Q&A is like, exactly, now that they're not locked into that 10-year contract, right? They're not specified to do a certain amount of things for a certain amount of time, and if you think about it too, like, obviously there was tensions between them and Activision. Obviously they parted ways. So imagine if they didn't part ways with them, right? And they fulfilled their contract. There's no chance, most likely, that they continue making, because after that contract, then it's up in the air about what they do, right? So, but if they stayed in the situation that they were in and they fulfilled their contract, there's probably a limited chance that they were going to continue making the game. But now that they're not locked into that, and they have creative freedom over everything, right? They're not required to do anything. It is all up to them themselves. They have complete control over what they want to do. That kind of like reinvigorates their desire to make a better product, to continue making that product, continue pushing that product, right? So, and then, so this was something that they were bringing up, is like, with that said, now that they have the ability to do what they want, if they get Destiny on a better engine that they can, iterate and tweak, and that's agile, and they can, do things quickly, and they're self-published, right, and they succeed in the future, then maybe their next game release isn't a sequel, right? Stay with me here.
Right.
It's not a sequel. It's like World of Warcraft, right? So, like, for instance, in the Warcraft universe, you have Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. Those are RTS games. But then, after that, they released World of Warcraft. And since then, they have not released a new Warcraft. It's just World of Warcraft. That is the Warcraft game now, right? And it's just been living since 2004, 2005, something like that. So, and if they put Destiny on an agile engine, they can do things properly. Then, yeah, just like you were saying, perhaps they release just a new, like, I don't know what they would call it, but it would just be Destiny. Not Destiny 2, not Destiny 3. It would just be Destiny. So then when people are playing something, we're playing the Destiny, freaking, I don't know, the Traveler expansion or something like that, right? So,
right.
That, I think, what you're talking about is absolutely correct, and I honestly, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that Bungie would do that.
Right,
I think it's something they'll do.
Like, I know this is going to be kind of insane for you, but just imagine a world where Bungie wasn't bound by contract to Microsoft, and they can make that game for another 10 to 20 years. Like, that's what we could be dealing with here.
Yeah. And, like, who knows, right? Like, maybe, because, like, they've said, in fact, they said in the press release that, like, they know what the game needs now. They've gotten enough feedback from the community. They've, they said that they have already immediately learned from Black Armory. There are different, better, they have taken huge strides this year. Like, that, there's no lie. But there also are things that they can continue to fix and improve on. And they're acknowledging it every single time something is brought up. And they reiterated now this is something interesting that Luke Smith said. They reiterated their commitment to Destiny. Never was Destiny 2 or a specific sect of Destiny mentioned. He said that they are excited for Destiny, which I don't believe they have done at all recently. They've always mentioned Destiny 2 whenever talking about any sort of release. So that makes me very intrigued, because it kind of goes along with what we were just saying about the idea of them just becoming Destiny, as opposed to a tailored game or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, sorry, drew a blank here. So yeah, also like with Bungie doing very well, like you can see that their, I don't want to say their attitude, but like their approach to gameplay and their approach to content in Destiny is just, it's like a complete 180. Like, let's look at the very tail end of Warmind and up to date. Like, we've had phenomenal community events, phenomenal like expansions that were released with Forsaken and Black Armory, and it's like amazing. Like,
yeah,
because like bringing back the Whisper of the Worm, bringing back the just the weapon in general, but then just bringing back the Thunderlord, like that mission. Playing that mission was insane. It was tons of fun to even go back to the Cosmodrome. Like, that was an amazing idea. And then on top of that, like the huge, I believe it was the last Forge, if I'm not mistaken, but it was just this the entire Bungie community. Like everybody just like dedicated to trying to figure out what the hell this puzzle was.
Yes.
Because I just remember it was consuming my Twitch, consuming my Twitter. Like I couldn't go any on the internet without seeing it. And like I haven't seen Dado get this many views since I think since the last Wish raid. He had nearly 60,000 people sitting in his stream contributing to solving this puzzle. And I'm just like, that is insane. And just like, if Bungie is no longer bound to what Activision is doing, and this is what they were doing while Activision had them in their grasp, and then just now who knows what else they had in store. Maybe they were working on something. Maybe they were working on something a little longer, like they wanted to, in like that release recently. And with them like working on it longer, then maybe we can get a better product, a way better product. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because like what I wouldn't mind seeing, actually, like you said, we don't get a Rise of Iron expansion, and they just completely put everything that they have into this next whatever I'm just gonna call a game, if it is an expansion or if it's a new game, and just like, this is gonna be a weird example, but to kind of get like that Red Dead Redemption 2, to get that Skyrim, that game that we've been waiting for for as long as we can think of, and it's just like game of the year, hands down, one of the best games. Like, we'll see.
What's interesting about that too, that you mentioned that, is, with Destiny 1, right, when it released, it was not what most people expected. So because of that, there were a lot of, it was hugely hyped, right? It was like the biggest selling new IP ever at the time. So it had massive amounts of hype, and then it obviously fell off because people, the game was in a different state that people were expecting, right? And then, it had its dedicated community, and it kept growing, and it got a lot better. So at the end of Destiny 1, the game was in a phenomenal spot. So then the hype for Destiny 2 was reinvigorated, and you had all these people that were burned originally, that had seen all the hype around Destiny 1 at the time, who just decided, I'm not going to get into it yet. I'm going to wait for the next one, especially like PC players. So then when the Destiny 2 came out on PC and everything, like Twitch was exploding for it, and everyone was super freaking stoked for it. And like all those people that were burned once before were now like, okay, I'm going to give it another shot, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it another shot. Hopefully we're better this time. And then they got burned again. And unfortunately, Destiny 2 took a lot of steps backwards that they had taken forward at the end of Destiny 1. So a lot of people got burned twice. And this is the interesting thing. For the last year, I have been expecting that all those people that got burned again would not care about this and say, you know what, it doesn't matter. I still don't care about Destiny, no matter what they have been doing to make it better, which is a perfectly valid place to hold. Don't get me wrong. That's absolutely valid to state that opinion at the moment. But what I have been seeing since this news is that a lot of these people that had that opinion no longer are like that. They're like, okay, now I'm going to try the game. Like given a completely fresh slate, right? So now Bungie has the rare opportunity now for a third chance And it's really interesting because this time around, I know I felt this way about Destiny 2, but I think it's a bit of a different situation this time, that they absolutely can pull this off and make this the game that you're talking about. The game that everyone is super interested in, especially considering the fact that they've been talking about wanting to do like more in-depth RPG elements. And I mean, let's be real here, when it comes to like big game releases, RPG elements is what sells it. So I think that this could be a serious turnaround for the game and the franchise moving forward.
And just for those listening, and if anyone is by chance like still anti-Destiny, fuck Destiny, in that kind of light, like seriously, like if you can find the money, get a Forsaken bundle and just play through from the beginning of the game to the end of Forsaken. Just do yourself that favor, and then if you really start to enjoy it, then start to grind. Play the hell out of that game, because it is honestly has to be in my top 5. I'm not gonna lie. Game.
Yeah, when Destiny 2 originally came out, I stopped playing it for like 6 months because I just did not like the changes that that reverted back to and everything. It was a huge step back. Like, let's be honest, like that was the case. But then when Warmind came out, I started to play again, and I started to see the seeds being planted for different changes and different things that would greatly improve the game moving forward. And I think the first thing that really started that was the summit that they did with all the content creators to really kind of get in touch with the community at a deeper level, to understand what we did wrong, what we're planning on doing, and how we can make this whole thing better. And since then, obviously we saw the fruits of that bearing with Forsaken. And like you're saying, like the game is in just such a phenomenal space. I really want to play it, and I will be playing it here soon. But it is in just a phenomenal state right now. Any final thoughts before we move on to Smite?
I got nothing, honestly.
Alrighty, well, same here. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Let's take a break real fast here. If you guys are brand new and haven't already, be sure to hit that follow button on both our channels. If you want to watch both our perspectives, !multi in the chat gets you a Twitch link. That is the multi link where you can watch both of our perspectives at the same exact time. Also, !podcast gets you a overview of what exactly we are doing here. Also, here in a little bit, we're going to be doing a 10-minute Q&A session to cap off the podcast. So if you have any questions you want us to go over, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end of the podcast. Coming up, we're going to have Anthem talking about our expectations for the VIP demo this Friday. It's coming up very, very soon. But first, we're going to get into some Smite Season 6 changes. Now, with this one, I am not too in tap with the information as far as that goes. So we're going to send it over to Omens, and I'm going to kind of let him lead this section here. Go ahead, my man.
All right, I'm going to bounce off of you just a little bit on these, because I know you do play. You did play a little bit of Smite. You play League, so you'll understand some of the lingo, I guess I'll say.
Right.
And how much that can change the game, because they are. It's not as many changes as a new season patch, but they are some pretty significant changes that we can expect in the next season.
All right.
The biggest change that I would say has been hyped up for the past few months is we're now going to expect crossplay. So we're gonna see Switch, PC, and Xbox players able to play together, and
what?
Yeah, people will now be able to queue together from all those different platforms. I don't believe PS4 will be able to play with
frickin' Sony. Come on,
as per usual. But one of the biggest things that really stuck out to me when I was reading through the patch notes was cross progression. Because one of the biggest things that stopped me from playing Smite on PC was I didn't have any of my skins. I didn't have my God Pack.
Right.
And it's very inhibiting to play. So the fact that I read that there was cross progressions, that means I get to have all my tier 5 skins that I spent the $100 to get, and can actually use them in Smite PC. That's massive, and it's just not to mention whenever you have the God Pack is a decent price. It's $30. So, but it doesn't feel good to buy it twice. So
absolutely not. I mean, when you already have it once, yeah.
So then we only have to buy it once now. So now that I have it on my Xbox, all I have to do is pair up my account, and I will have it on PC now, which is very exciting.
That's
I
pretty dope.
have to say.
Let me step it real fast here. First off, this is something I actually forgot to mention when we were talking about the Bungie Activision split. This is something that I'm looking forward to. I fully expect a cross-save situation coming out with Destiny in the future with that. And then also, I didn't even know Smite was on the Switch. Like, when did that even happen? I had no idea.
It was something that was released, I want to say a month or two ago. They released it on the Switch.
So it's a relatively new concept.
Yeah, it's not too hard for them to include Switch into it, though, because I believe the Switch backpacks off of Xbox's servers. So Switch players play with Xbox players already, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though.
Intriguing. Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah, because it's just... I know that Paladins does, but I don't know about Smite. I would think Smite does because it's high res, but...
Well, if we got the wrong information, chat, please be sure to let us know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just continue as you were saying
that. One of the new exciting things is, don't you hate when you're playing like a MOBA and then you queue up to play some carry and some other shithead calls it out before you?
No, because I have the fingers of a master and I call my spot immediately. Immediately. I've never had someone call it before me.
All right, make sure to call you out next time you get called out.
Okay.
I'm gonna call you out next time you get called out.
All right.
Anyways, Smite is now, which is kind of crazy, considering that the player base is not as large as it used to be. They're incorporating role queue, so you'll be able to pick your top highest roles. So, say if I wanted to do jungle and support, that's usually what I played a lot of in Smite. Then the game will prioritize it so that I get paired with other people to create a team comp, compared to having completely rare but possible for 5 people to get into a game and all be support mains.
Oh my god!
But it'll just avoid that situation.
That sounds horrendous. Wow. Yeah.
Which it'll reduce those toxic games that you come across. Oh, you shithead! I gave you jungle even though you whatever. Those like situations.
Yeah.
And just redundant games with those same examples.
Okay.
So it'll open a lot of avenues for that.
Now, is that only for competitive queue or is that for casual as well?
I did open the patch notes because I just read that they announced a new god today, which I am going to vaguely cover.
Already after what was it? The guy that they just
Yeah, they just announced King Arthur, and they are now. I'll get to him in a moment. I'm not gonna. It is another Arthur-based god, person though.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because they have a whole Camelot thing going on currently.
Oh, okay. Do you think they're gonna make? Well, I'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah, because if the answer is most likely yes, I'm just gonna say because they do have a ton of gods planned for the next few. I believe they said they do have the 100th planned. Like they already have him like written down. They know what he's gonna do. They know what the kid is. But I believe the god that was just announced is the 99th, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, before we go on to him, on to that, I'm gonna cover some other things. We have 3 objectives that are completely new. We have one objective on the solo side called the Totem of Coup. What it essentially is that that team specifically has to do a certain amount of damage to the objective, so that means that I can't get it almost killed, and then someone else on the enemy team can come up and swoop it and steal it. It's something that you personally have to get the certain amount of damage done on it, and then you earn that objective for that duration of time.
Okay, gotcha.
So what it does is that it grants a small little gold buff, small little gold. It gives you like 25 gold, I believe, across everyone on your team, and then all your towers become buffed. That means that you get additional movement speed. And then I don't know if they specifically said they do additional damage or not. I do not remember. But then I know they also give you additional mana per 5 seconds is the way that Smite does mana regeneration. And a couple other things, if I'm not mistaken. Scroll down here.
While you're scrolling, that sounds really interesting actually as a new buff, because as far as I'm aware, I've never really heard of any sort of buff in a MOBA that does that. So that's actually really cool. Now, I assume that's for Conquest, right?
Yes. So
okay, gotcha.
it's on the solo side of the of the map, right behind the fire giant pit, right where it's one of the entrances from Solo Lane. So it's a very
gotcha.
weird place. It's a lot of choke points, so it's not going to be necessarily fight for this objective all the time, but it is going to be
It will be
it
a place
wouldn't
of
hurt
interest.
to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was right. It is just the 5 additional movement speed and then 25 mana per 5 seconds. So that would be 5 mana per second, and that does definitely build up relatively quickly to allow you to use your abilities more consistently. One of the bigger things though, which is very very interesting, they have 2 new Gold Furies. So they have the original Gold Fury, which gives you the boost in gold,
Right.
and then you have the Oni Gold Fury and the Primal Gold Fury. The Oni Gold Fury, what it'll allow you to do is it will give your minions, like they'll become buffed. So they'll become the minions damage.
Will get buffed. Okay.
Yes, they'll get bonus damage. They'll get bonus health, protections for physical and magical. But
So wait, hold up. So when you kill, what's the it's the fire giant? That's the equivalent of the Baron, right? In Smite.
Yeah, so it'll allow you to get like health and mana per second, and then it'll give you additional damage to structures.
Okay, so that's what the fire giant buffs you with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's not been a buff in Smite that actually affects the minions itself.
There has been there is like taking phoenixes, which give you fire minions, which the Oni minions are weaker than your fire minions, but they're stronger than your normal minions. But I do believe they stack with fire minions, so you can have fire minions pushing down waves, and then also have it get the Oni buff, which would make it absolutely unstoppable because fire minions are already tough to deal with as is.
Okay, gotcha. So that's what I was thinking about. Is like because I know in League, when you take the Baron, and as the game progresses on, your minions get stronger due to like the Baron buff and stuff like that. So that's what I was wondering about. Okay, continue.
Okay, yeah. So that's pretty much what the Oni buff does. Then there is the Primal buff, which will grant you additional damage in the jungle and to jungle bosses. So that means that if you can get and this stacks up to 3 times. So if you have the 5%, and if you kill the Primal, say 3 times, and then you go to fight Fire Giant, you can burn that thing down in probably less than 10 to 15 seconds because of this buff, and because any additional damage that your team may have. Just if your entire team is all in on this Fire Giant, and if they have Primal buff, you better be on it like clockwork.
Right.
Because it'll be gone in half a second.
Okay.
That's very interesting change.
Yeah. What are the other changes before we move on to Anthem?
Okay, so we have 3 more things to deal with. We have this is the biggest thing that I would say have to be in this patch. We have the Elixir of Speed, which is meant to replace your boots late game.
Oh,
so what it does is
okay.
Yes. So what it'll do is it's 2,000 gold. You buy it, and it is a permanent potion.
Oh,
so that means that you no longer, like, if you die, it goes past death.
Right.
It's like for 9,999 seconds, so it's not gonna run out in your game unless if it goes for an ungodly long time. And then you have like but the one thing though is that it doesn't stack with boots, and that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to replace your boots, so that late game you can sell your boots and then get that 6th late game item.
Yeah.
So, every build ever in League and Smite, you can see your 5 items and then boots every time. But then this time you won't have to have boots. So you can expect tanks to be tankier, damage dealers to do more damage. It is just going to be a problem.
I actually really like that. It helps you focus more on your build rather than just, having the ability to move at a quick pace.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So the last thing I want to cover is King Arthur, which was released in Smite a couple of weeks ago. He plays a lot different than your normal like MOBA like character. He plays a little bit more kind of like a combo character. So you technically have 6 abilities. Using an ability allows you to access the other 3 abilities, and then using those abilities will take you back to the other abilities. So they pretty much create combos within those 6 abilities that you can do, and they just have like multiple different buffs and debuffs that you can apply to people and whatnot. But then when dealing damage with Arthur, you build up energy, which is I don't know if you've played, anyone else in chat played any fighting games. It's kind of like your X-ray meter, your super meter, or whatever. And once you use it on somebody, once you get enough energy and you use it on someone, it deals percent-based health. So generally speaking, I believe it does 34% health at max level. So if someone, it's almost a guaranteed kill at some points. So like, and that's how I generally use it, is just if they're not dead, they're pretty close to dead.
Right.
Almost all the time. And not something that I can necessarily cover right now because there is a lot to read through. But they also released a new god today, Merlin, the Master Wizard, which is very cool. Very, it's a different thing actually, because he has a, you have 2 stance champions or gods, and he's a 3 stance champion or god. Like it's very interesting. So he has a stance based on electricity, a stance based on fire, and a stance based on ice, which is a very interesting approach.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Huh. Well, I have to say that all those changes sound very interesting. Seeing as I'm not somebody who typically plays Smite all that much, none of those changes sounded like they would deter me. Actually, I'm actually pretty intrigued. I don't know if I'll get on, but they do intrigue me. I'm not going to lie to that one. But we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of this for the latter half of the podcast, or really the last about 17 minutes or so, unless we get some questions. Guys, put your question in the chat if you have any. We're going to get to a Q&A at the end if we have any questions. If not, we're just going to continue the discussion. So now we're going to be moving into the Anthem VIP Demo, which is going to be going live on this Friday. I don't know what time, but for Origin Premier Access members, you guys can actually preload this tomorrow. I believe the 23rd, right? It's currently the 22nd, so tomorrow the 23rd, or whenever you're listening to this, January the 23rd, you can officially preload the VIP demo and get yourselves ready to jump into the demo on January the 25th, which is this upcoming Friday. Before we get to that, real quick, guys, !multi in the chat gets you a Twitch link to the multi-Twitch for both mine and Wicked Omens perspectives, if you guys would like to support both of us that way. Also, hit the follow button if you're brand new on both of our channels to be updated when we go live. And then also, !podcast in the chat gets you an overview of what exactly we are doing here. Appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get into the Anthem discussion. So I'm going to be honest. I have been very excited about Anthem since the release of the news about the game, just period, when they actually talked about it for the very, very first time. I've been very interested, very excited about the game. But seeing as they are under EA, I have been cautiously excited. Not even necessarily cautiously optimistic, because I haven't had a really reason to be optimistic. I've been excited, but just cautiously. Because, EA doesn't exactly have a very good track record at this exact moment. And then also with BioWare and their most recent release in Mass Effect Andromeda, both of those companies don't exactly have the best recent track record. Now, look at their overall company, different story. But recently, things have been a little bit different. So I have had tampered expectations, but I will say, over the last week, I have taken the liberty to look at some gameplay, look at some information regarding the game, and kind of get a deeper dive into what I'm expecting to see. And I have to say that my cautiousness it's still there, but it's very slight. I think that what I've seen so far, BioWare has done an excellent job of making the game that they are advertising, which is obviously something that was different with Destiny. We got something different than advertised, but this time around, at least from what I've seen, it looks like the game is as advertised. So I'm very excited to jump into it on Friday. I'll actually be streaming it live on this channel. So I'm really, really excited about it. What are you thinking? I know because you've been trying to stay in the dark. So what are your actual thoughts and expectations and stuff like that for the game at the moment?
For the game or the demo? Because I have two different things here.
Well, let's start with the demo, and then I would like to hear game overall stuff. So let's start with the demo.
Okay, so going into the demo, what I would like to see from the demo is I would like to see some of their storytelling elements. I want to see if BioWare still has it in a way.
Okay.
Because like you were saying, in recent years they haven't been too hot, but they have fantastic titles under their belt with Mass Effect that I've been playing through recently.
Yep.
They have Dragon Age, and they also have Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars: The Old Republic. All phenomenal storytelling games, but it's just a matter of applying it to this new universe that they're going to bring us into, and just how well that they're going to showcase it in a way. You know,
Yeah.
is it just like, is it going to be good storytelling, or are we just going to be like, hey, shoot the bad guy, you know, kind of narrative?
Right. Yeah, definitely see that there. Okay, so you're looking for story elements. What are some other things you're looking for in the demo?
What I'm also hoping to see just a little bit is I would like to see them trying to introduce us to the lore just a little bit. You know, I want to see.
Really? Okay.
I want to see them kind of just like, you know, drizzle a little on top a little bit. Like, this may be the story that we're showing you, but here's this little side story that you can investigate. You know, you don't have to see it, but you can go out of your way to see it. It would introduce us in a way that how they tell these side stories, you know.
Right.
Because with no longer the case, but with Destiny, you kind of have this a lot of references, a lot of hidden cues and different lore tabs, and you have to connect the puzzle, and then you get the full story.
Yeah.
But then with games like with previous BioWare games, you know, being released with Mass Effect specifically, they have an amazing codex that allows you to read everything that you've discovered, and it's all very neatly put together where you can see, almost like how Bungie has it now, a book you can go through.
Yeah.
You know? So hopefully we do get to see a look at their codex, because with Bife had an interview with them, and they did say that there is a codex, so I would like to see it in the demo and see
okay.
what can we expect.
Okay. All right. I don't. I will be honest. I don't expect to see anything necessarily lore related in the demo. We might, but I don't expect to see that. What I have though seen is that, from my understanding, and I could be wrong on this, so don't take this as gospel. From what I have understood though, is that we're not going to be level 1 when we get into the demo. We're going to be something along the lines of like level 10 or something like that, and we're going to be playing for 5 levels up to like level 15. Which is similar to how Bungie did their original beta. Only you started at 1 and you went to 5. So like that same like 5-level incrementation is most likely going to be here. From what I have heard, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I watched a video the other day and they were talking about like what has been announced or what they are expecting is going to be the actual like list of content that we will get. We will get to explore Fort Tarsis. We will get to free roam. We will be given a few select story missions to roll through, which I'm expecting is going to be along the lines of what the YouTubers that have been releasing over the last few weeks, the same mission that everyone has been showing. I'm assuming that that's going to be one of them that we will get access to. I expect them to kind of just give us a little bit of an understanding, kind of like a piece of everything, right? I don't think they're going to give us anything with a stronghold. They might give us access to like one stronghold. I don't expect that to happen though, but I think it's going to be narrowed down to the ideas of like free roam, story missions, Fort Tarsis, giving you an overview of what exactly the world is going to be, and I think the free roam is going to be big in that. And if they do sort of implement lore, things like you're saying, that it'll probably be related to the free roam. I'm actually very curious to see how they're going to do that. If it's going to be like things that you pick up, or if it's going to be like locations you go to and you're going to get an audio log, or whatever the case may be, if they're going to take a Dark Souls sort of direction with it. Very interested in that. But as far as the demo goes, I think it's going to be pretty bare bones, just kind of giving you a dabble of everything that you're going to see in the game. And then you just kind of get us a bit of an understanding. So this way we're excited for the actual release. One thing, though, that I have seen, Evader Entertainment, lore, yes. One thing that I have seen is that, now that I've actually lost my train of thought. Well, I lost my train of thought, so we'll just keep moving on. What are your actual expectations for the game? Since I completely derailed my train of thought there.
What I'm hoping to see is just kind of like a, in a way, just like a third-person Destiny, you know? Because people have been kind of, I've noticed, railing the game, just kind of like, oh, like, please don't be one of those like looter shooters, when that's exactly what the game is. And it's just I'm hoping that people take it in the light of just like this is the genre, you know? Because
Yeah.
like you can look at games like Warframe, like Destiny, like even like when I play Path of Exile, the story is a fraction of the game. And hopefully people don't look at it as just like, oh, this game is just a story-based game when it's not. It's all, like a fraction is only like a tenth of the game, and then you have all of Endgame to play and do what you want to do.
Right. Even with
And-
this being a BioWare game, right, where we're expecting an excellent story that's not necessarily the focus of the game when it, once you complete that, that's not exactly the focus of the game. The focus of the game, like you're saying, is after you complete that excellent story that we're expecting.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of like looking to, and I'm hoping that part of the game is good, the end game, and then there's a lot to do, despite there being no PvP, which will hinder them, but also maybe help them
Yeah.
a little bit, allow them to focus on PvE elements instead.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's two sides to that coin. Obviously, we'd like to see PvP, but I mean, we haven't played it yet, right? So we don't know exactly how things are going to work, how the flow is. I've heard only great things about how the game actually feels, but we don't know how it would work in a player versus player combat setting. But like you're saying, though, it could significantly help them in the side that Destiny seems to be detrimented at a lot of the times, which is balancing, right? If they don't have to worry about balancing a PvP, then they could just do whatever the heck they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can make that gun incredibly overpowered if you provide something to go after. So I agree with what you were saying there for sure.
Yeah, because I remember that is something that they said when they first announced it, is that there was going to be no PvP for that exact reason, because they want to create powerful exotics that you can feel the difference in.
Yes. Yeah, and that's actually, I was looking yesterday or maybe the day before, something like that. The hierarchy of weapons is actually very intriguing. They have, I believe it is the top 2 tier is like legendary and masterwork or something like that. So like masterwork is like the top. And then there's like, I don't know if it's a rumor or if it is like there is information on this that there's going to be like ancients, like even on top of that, like there's going to be an ancient tier that like that's going to be like if you get that, you're a freaking legend, that kind of thing. And that makes me very interested in what you're talking about. The end game is like the real, true, actual game, right? Once we complete that story, the meat of the game, where we're actually going to be spending our time in, is like, what exactly is that going to involve? And that, I will be honest, that has been one of the points that I have been concerned about up to this point, because we haven't really heard that much about it. Like, we know there's going to be strongholds, which is like essentially the dungeon that we'll have an Anthem. But we haven't heard anything about raids at all. They have not mentioned a single thing about raids. But I can't imagine them, unless strongholds are just like unbelievably fantastic, like and kind of take the place of a raid sort of thing. Because you are required to have 4 people to do those, by the way. I did see that on Twitter yesterday. You are required to have 4 people playing in that. So maybe that is their raid/dungeon. Maybe it's kind of combined, right? But I can't. In the game like this, I do hope that they have a raid type activity, because I feel like that is required in this style game that you're attempting to put out.
Yeah, hopefully, because I believe strongholds are their version of raids. So,
Raids or dungeons?
Well, strongholds are going to be their raids,
Okay.
straight up, because in their E3 demo, they're entering the stronghold, and then they cut to, in an interest of time, we skipped it ahead. So who knows how much is in between from that point that they made that jump,
Yeah, that's true.
We're not going to walk directly into the boss's room and just like, here we go.
Maybe
there can be right. Maybe there's multiple encounters beforehand, and hopefully that is what we see, and that is the case. But it can go either way.
Okay, if that's the case, then I will be perfectly happy. The only reason why I'm hesitant to believe that is like their raid, because I mean, what do you look at World of Warcraft? Dungeons are also multi encounters. It's just that raids are on a much larger scale, larger amount of people, and that's where I am hesitant to believe the idea that the strongholds are the raids, because it's still only 4 people. If they had it open up to 2 teams, perhaps 8 players, like the way the Division's doing it, then I would be more apt to believe that. And obviously we will see as the game gets here, but that's just kind of the perspective I've had on it. a quick tidbit of information, actually. One thing that I have learned this past week is that apparently Anthem is going to have matchmaking for every single activity, including strongholds. So one of the big complaints in Destiny is that the raids do not have matchmaking, and if strongholds are indeed their version of a raid, there will be matchmaking for that in Anthem. So that's, if they do it right, I think that could be very beneficial. All right, well, any final thoughts before we go ahead and end the episode, Ms. My Friend?
No, I believe that is going to be it.
Alrighty, well, listen, guys, thank you so much. Usually at this point in time, we'd be doing a Q&A. No questions in the chat this time, unfortunately. If you guys are listening, whether it be on YouTube or on the VOD, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. I appreciate it. This pilot is going to be the beginning of very many to come. The goal is to have a specific schedule for this. We will be announcing that later in the week. Most likely, we will be doing this once again next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I appreciate everybody being here. Be sure to hit that follow button on both of our channels to be notified when we go live. Other than that, let's go ahead and end it off here with where we can find our content. So, Wicked Omens, once again, where can the folks find your content?
You can find me at twitch.tv/WickedOmens. You can also find me at youtube.com/OmenTheDivine, or you can find me on Twitter at WickedOmens.
Alrighty, and of course, for myself, you guys can always find me on this Twitch channel that you guys are listening to at the moment. Also, I stream every single week at 3 times a week. You guys can check out my Discord page so you'll be notified when I go live. That is going to be an exclamation point Discord in the chat. You can also participate in cool things about Tough Crowd in that Discord server as well. In addition to that, my twitter.com/BuckeyeGG, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BuckeyeGG, which you may be listening to from that channel, actually. I will be putting the VOD of that up on that channel. And then in addition to that, also Instagram at Buckeye_GG. That is where you can find my content. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you guys are in the chat right now and you are here for my stream, I will be back in a few minutes to continue the stream this evening. Going to be playing some Halo 5. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.